Hi guys, this is Vishal Parekh and you're watching us on Brute Questions by Vishal. Today I have Rajesh with me and we're going to talk about all everything around health, wellness और क्या क्या होता है health fitness में. So Rajesh, please tell our audience who you are, what do you do, what do you call yourself?
Hi Vishal, nice to see you after a long time. Long time. So I call myself as a health coach and a functional nutritionist. These are relatively very new terms when it comes to health and wellness. So you've heard about dietitians. You doctors are obviously age old stuff. So we fall something in between. Functional nutrition is a has an organization principle in the US through which I have certified myself from an organization called Vita One, which is a partner to the functional nutritionist organization. That being said, I have been doing this for the last 5-6 years now. Pre-COVID was when I started, and then COVID it took off. So that's one thing. And why a health coach? Because today there is a very set of lifestyle that you follow. Right? You travel, then there is intercontinental travel, there is time related stuff. So it's very difficult to have one set menu for you, right? So if I were to say you it should be carb based or protein based, then it becomes very difficult for you to follow. So one has to understand the lifestyle, one has to understand coaching, and it is most of uh, a subject called motivational intervene, positive psychology. By the way, I'm also a positive psychology certified coach. So it helps in motivating, setting a direction, a path. You fail, you pass, you succeed. So these are part of the life stage. So this is what in entirety as a package do. And I had now handled about more than 200 plus clients across India. I have even clients outside of India, the United States and things like that. So yeah, business has been good.
5 साल में you touched around 200 plus lives. Plus also we are saying, you mentioned you're a functional coach and a health coach. And you're not a nutritionist or a dietitian who makes the diet plan जो आजकल बहुत fancy terms use किए जा. You're not that, but you're something else.
Yeah, so when it comes to one thing to understand is the difference between diet and nutrition. Diet is always an outside in approach, which means you will have a set of ingredients and things like that, which is supposed to go into your body or do some function, right? While a nutrition is to nourish, and nourishment happens through the midriff, which is your liver, your stomach, your intestine, your pancreas, everything that is we call as the gut. Now that is when what you eat nourishes yourself. You know, even a burger could be nourishment, may not necessarily be diet.
Wow.
Yeah. In speaking terms, right? In theory, it could be nourishment because if you are famished for 2 days, a burger is gives you the fastest energy possible. So that way. So that is why the functional nutrition we see two things. One is obviously the nutrition part of things. The other big important thing is we look at blood work. Blood work not from one single terms in terms of finding a disease, but to see where all the dysfunction is happening, whether it is the liver, whether it is the kidney, whether how is your lipids or cholesterol, not from one single factors, but various cholesterols that do various functions in the body. Cholesterol is not something that is which people term as bad or good, but it's a very necessary set of things that needs to be done. So hormonal health, electrolyte balance. These are things which don't fall in the purview of medical science, but it's more of a functional way of looking at things and then saying you have this set of things which have emerged, but it kind of doesn't tell you what the root causes are.
Okay. So what basically you're telling us is, अगर diabetic कोई बंदा है, तो it's not necessarily just the glucose spike. अब वो जो 3 parameters हम देखते हैं, fasting and 3 months average and post meal, these are not just the parameter to decide whether a person is high on sugar or is already a diabetic or can be a diabetic. There are more things which needs to be
And it is very interesting to know, and it's a mind blowing fact that you can actually detect whether you are going to be a diabetic at least a decade before it happens. Oh, so you have a lot of time to rectify that. It's not that when you see a certain number spike like an HbA1c, 5.8 say, then people say, मैं थोड़ा sugar बंद करता हूँ. Blood sugar is the wrong word. It is actually glucose, and glucose is what is getting converted from carbohydrates, and that's a basic fuel of the body. Sugar doesn't mean the sugar that you eat; it could be food also. So yes, three factors are okay to see. It will tell you what it is, but it doesn't tell you the real story. The real story involves a lot of other blood markers, and also the most important thing is to correlate. When you correlate things, you understand that there are deficiencies in the body. A. B. How is your nutrition? For example, the most Indian client that I see mostly eat very healthy. We are not by definition junk eating. But what we think as healthy, the body is interpreting it as different. So it is understanding that what you eat and how to go about basically streamlining the stuff that you.
Well, right. So, and then that brings me to a point that this whole idea of health and wellness became very popular after COVID. And what I know you before COVID or not years ago, you've been a through and through an IT expert, from IT industry, working with Intel, working. Why suddenly this shift happened from being an IT expert, working with Intel and Kingston and all of that, and now suddenly you are into touching 200 lives in last 5 years? What happened?
So the story began with my own dysfunctions due to constant traveling. And as I always tell, that Singapore airport used to be my second home. And that's the kind of travel I used to do. And my health deteriorated. So due to lifestyle, wayward lifestyle, I would say, there were drinks, there was smoking, there was a lot of other things that involved, and the body just gave up. At 36, 37, I was declared a diabetic with high blood pressure and with cholesterol and all the things that needs to go bad with that. And I had something like a A4 size medicine, this, and I thought it would be a few days to consume this and I would be okay. But then a few days became few months, and then after a couple of years, I realized that this is not going to end here. So being an engineer and I'm a good problem solving engineer. So I looked at that list and then I said, let me study what exactly is happening and why this has come. This is the end result, right? Something is broken, then you don't look at the broken part and say, oh, it's broken, so now let me put some glue. But if it is consistently broken, then you look at why it is breaking, right? So
Root cause of it.
the root cause. And I looked at the root causes. I read and I'm a voracious reader, so I keep reading. So I read a lot of books, understood, then started fixing one thing at a time. And the A4 sheets are after a couple of years disappeared. And then I became a non-medicine. That doesn't mean that doctors are not necessary or medical advice is not. This is my story. So I managed to get out of all my medications, all of things. And then I extended that service to friends and family and then to the outer world. And that's how people know me. And people, especially who know me from an engineering background, know that I'm a very good problem solver. So it is some kind of blessing that I'm able to help people in the right way, in the sense that what generally I've seen people with decades of acid refluxes and things like that, we've been able to solve. It takes time. This is no magic pill that I'll give you a pill tomorrow and it takes months, bare minimum 12 weeks, and then the story continues.
So now you've been a diabetic and now you are back in normal sugar range? Like you're not a diabetic now?
Yeah, I am. I can say that I am pretty much a non-diabetic, but I always stick around in the pre-diabetic range. So it is,
But without medicines.
without medicines. I have to be very careful with what I eat and how much I eat. So, but that is okay. That's just very acceptable to me compared to medicines. If I take medicines, the problem with medicine is not that it is a problem, but it changes the pathophysiology of the body, meaning the original way of working the body changes. And that change leads to other implications which is not seen, but it affects your living or the way of living, or it is like you live with certain pain and don't realize that that pain is due to X, Y.
एंड प्लस ये भी बोला जाता है कि एक बार वो मेडिसिन शुरू हो गई तो स्टार्ट विथ लाइक द मोस्ट
And fraction of mg. For example, like things like blood sugar medicines, they never resolve a problem. They only
the
keep
dosage keeps growing. ये शुरू हो गया तो बंद हो गया.
you end up with insulin. Even blood pressure medicines, right? To an extent, blood pressure should fluctuate. That is the one thing. But if it's a constant fluctuation, you should start medication, which is important. But at the same time, fix your lifestyle. That is the number one. That the body is very intelligent enough to get back the numbers that you're looking at. See, it's a very personal journey when it comes to health and wellness.
Correct.
And one should typically look at it from a very personal view. And that is why I said, why a health coach? I'm not trying to market myself, but a health coach is somebody who understands the clinical experience he has. He has knowledge on a holistic basis. The doctor is an expert on specificity. Today, there is little of specificity. When I say little, I mean specificity is important. There are a lot of people who suffer from major illnesses where they are required. But majority of us who are healthy, who seem looking good, has these chronic problems which are interrelated, which is
अभी not seen at times.
yeah, and which is not part of the main medical stream. So a health coach is actually bridges the gap there and also helps you get into good habits. Why? Bad habits don't go overnight, but you slowly but steadily start replacing those habits and then become better. That's the way it is. Because I myself, smoking was a good pastime for me. I know how difficult it was to come out of that. I've done that. I've done it for many guys. And it's a journey. It is not like throw the butt away and it will go. Smoking addiction is a far greater addiction than maybe alcohol also. So that's the thing.
So when you say this is a complete OTA, then the final question for this round is how difficult for people who are watching us, how difficult or easy it is to change the mindset कि मुझे वो pill नहीं swallow करना है, change my eating habits or my lifestyle, or how easy or how difficult is that? So I mean, my question is, why should someone follow you, which usually takes, like you said, 12 weeks is where your first cursor is, right? So the first 12 weeks will define your next 12 weeks and so on. Medication का क्या आज पिल खा लिया कल से I can eat whatever I want.
Yeah. So longevity is good. Depends on the quality of life. Right? Now imagine somebody who works age 40, 45, 50 and is roti kapda makan problem solved most times 90 plus %. So, and now you're looking towards your second inning. What happens? You're on pills, your energy levels are plummeted. You want to exercise, but you can't exercise. You feel you're lazy. You have to participate in life activities, marriage is coming up, things like that, where the quality of life needs to improve, right? Pills definitely help you to curtail a disease, but can that be reversed? What is the cost to that reversal and what is the cost to medication and other subjects, right? Today you buy a health insurance. That health insurance only assures you that during crisis, somebody will pay your bills. Correct. But it doesn't tell you anything on the trauma, what your family will go through, because it's clearly a lapse on your part not to look after that part. Unless, of course, there is something which is genetic problem or some problem which cannot be solved, you need a medication. But otherwise, you are the one to blame. You're creating trauma for your family. The trauma that you go through. Third is, imagine the state of mind that you will be. Are you able to kind of respond to life situations when you come through this? I don't think so. And these things cross the psychological barriers also. Anxiety, loss of confidence. These are things which, I mean, there are a lot of things. Like for example, a case, a little more type. A case I want to discuss is somebody came to me with high blood pressure, cardiologist saying that the heart is not functioning as per, and which was right. And the CAT, there is a score called classification score quite high, and things like that. And the story that I listened, I told him, boss, the heart, yes, it is not good, but you have a major problem with relation to your adrenal functionality. So adrenal functionality is not a medical term. What you call is called as a HPA dysfunction now. Many people don't even know what HPA is. It is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal gland. So it's a part of how you combat stress in a day-to-day life. As simple as that. So it involves the brain, it involves the kidney, it involves something called as the gonads, which sit about your kidney, simple harmonic balance and things like that.
Oh, so you're saying stress affects not just your brain and heart, but other body parts.
That's where the beginning starts.
Oh, okay.
See, the moment your midriff, as I tell, the midriff contains all your organs, right? Only heart is above that. The midriff shift, you have a shift in your heart valve. The heart on its own can never get burdened. When certain elements to our, it's like breach of wall. If the wall breaches, which is your midriff, then there is going to be the palace is going to be shaky. And
very nice. So great. I think that's all we're going to ask you today. But then what I'm going to do is it's open up to audience now, and that's why we call it as neutral questions. The audience is open to ask any question, and any question. It can be as brutal as you want it to be. And we'll catch Rajesh again once we have a list of questions ready. We'll call him again on here and ask those questions, and please will answer each one of them one by one. So you can DM us, you can WhatsApp us. All the information is there below. So that's all for now.
I'll wait for your questions and I love to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishal. Thank you.